It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you. It's daunting me. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a ghost of you and me. Of you and me. All these whispers.
My name is James Hershey. Right back.
All these shadows in my mind. But my reflection I can't find. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a
That ought to
ghost
do
of
it.
you and me. Of you and me. Don't let 'em take you away. Don't let 'em bring you down inside. It's just the mirrors in your mind. Don't let 'em bring you down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
Tonight's episode is going to be another one of those behind-the-scenes looks at an investigation. We just put out episode 3 of Tales from the Abyss. Now, this episode was a case that I worked here in Virginia in a little town called Mount Jackson. And I'm going to tell you the basic story of what led to the investigation, the background stuff, and then I'll tell you what happened on the investigation, what you didn't get to see on the episode, and what has happened since. So I've known the guy that is the father of that family for many, many years. He lived in the same town that I live in now, probably about 10, 15 years ago. He's always been a kind of volatile person. He had a lot of problems with anger issues and rage and violence and that kind of thing. Well, he moved away from my town to another town. And as it is in today's world, you kind of keep track of people on Facebook and that kind of thing. But we didn't talk all the time. And we didn't talk all the time when he lived in my town either. We knew of each other. Let's put it that way. But we weren't like really close friends at that time or anything. So before I began my career as an author, before I wrote horror novels, before I was on the bestseller list, before I got a radio show and did all this stuff, I had a lot of other jobs in my life. I've worked in warehouses, and I was a forklift driver. I was a chef at one time. I've done a lot of different things. Ever since I was a little child, I have studied martial arts because I grew up in the military. And on every single base, no matter where you are in the world, there are two things that are a constant. Every single base has a bowling alley. And every single base has some form of martial arts that you can study. Now, you'll have an instructor. You go in, usually it's at the rec center or something like that. And you'll go in and you'll take the classes and you'll learn. Now, a lot of times on these bases, your instructor is not like in a normal community to where you go to parks and recreation and sign up for a class and you got little kids and all that kind of, it's not that kind of thing. A lot of times on the bases, the people that are coming there to learn the martial arts are soldiers. And a lot of times the instructor is also a soldier who is professionally trained in hand-to-hand combat. But every base has those two things. So I am a hell of a bowler. I bowl very well because I spend a lot of time bowling. And I've also studied many, many different forms of martial arts in my life. So I gained a great deal of knowledge about hand to hand combat and a great deal of technique. I also learned what works and what doesn't work in real world, real life kind of situations. The problem with a lot of martial arts is what they call kata or form. Now, what that is it's basically a form of a dance almost that you go through in order to learn the movements and to learn the techniques that you will use in an actual fighting situation. The problem I have with kata in most instances is you are dependent upon the attack coming from a specific angle with a specific body part, that kind of thing. In other words, hey dude, come at me with a knife like this and an overhand strike from this angle, very, very slow. And then I'm going to go into this pre-orchestrated series of movements that's going to cause you not to stab me and to get the knife away from you. It's rarely actually effective in real world situations. But what I did was I took all of the best stuff from all these different forms of martial arts that I studied, all the stuff that really, really worked well. And I kept that. And I threw away all the garbage. I threw away all the beautiful movements and all the ceremonial crap that doesn't actually work in real world combat. And over the years, I developed my own style of fighting, my own, I don't want to say my own martial art because that's not what it is. It's a system that I developed that really works in real world situations of self-defense, to defend yourself and to save your life, basically. Along the way, I studied Kung Fu as well. I got with a master, and this was after the military, where I learned a great deal. And I eventually earned a master rank. So once I earned a master rank, I decided that I would open up my own school. But I didn't want to teach Kung Fu. I didn't want to teach San Shao. I didn't want to teach Wing Chun. I wanted to do my own system, my own self-defense system that I had developed. So that's what I did. I didn't give out belts or sashes or rank or anything like that. What I did was I took people and I taught them how to defend themselves properly and how to neutralize an attack in just about any situation. It didn't have to be, okay, you have to throw a strike with this hand, with this weapon, in this angle, that kind of thing. They were prepared for basically anything that came at them. A really funny thing really quickly before I get back to the main story here. While I was teaching this, I had two students that I will never forget in my life. They were older people. It was a married couple. The gentleman was, I think, 75, almost 76 years old, and the wife was 72 years old. And you might think that's awful old to be, fighting and doing stuff like that. The reason they came to me is because they had retired and they had bought a boat and they were sailing around. That was their dream for their entire life. They wanted to retire, have a boat, and sail around the world. Not in one trip, obviously, just wherever they wanted to go. They wanted to be able to sail there and hang out and have a good time. What they learned was some of these places in the world were kind of sketchy. You pull into the port and you're hanging out, and it's kind of a sketchy area. And there's some people there that are likely to rob and hurt you. And them being older people, they were a little bit worried about that. So their daughter actually lives in this area where I live, and they had come home to help her out because she was pregnant. And they were planning on leaving again after the baby was born to go back, resuming their retirement of sailing around. And while they were there, they had heard from a friend of theirs about what I was teaching and how effective it was. So they decided that they wanted to come and take lessons from me. So long story short, that's what they did. And as a final test and a final way to give them the confidence to live the life that they wanted to live, and show them that what they had learned was truly effective and powerful and not just a dance. I brought in a guy that was a friend of mine who was an MMA fighter. Big, scary guy. This 72-year-old woman, frail as can be, just tiny, flung this big old guy on the ground and beat the piss out of him. And it was beautiful. Beautiful thing to see. That gave them the confidence after that to live the rest of their life. I receive postcards from them every once in a while still, and they are doing wonderfully, and they are just having the time of their life, and that's beautiful. But the reason I tell you all of that is because that's how I reconnected with Todd, the father, is he contacted me to have lessons. And at the time that he contacted me, I had closed down my self-defense school because I'd already started writing and all that kind of stuff, and that career really took off. My writing career was amazing. I was making a lot of money, and I was doing really, really well, and I was doing all these radio shows and, you know, as a guest to promote the work and all that kind of stuff. And I no longer had to do a normal job. I was past that point. I was fine. But he wanted to learn, and I hadn't taught for a while, and to be honest with you, I kind of missed it. You know, once you have spent your life in combat like that, and then you walk away from it and do something different, you kind of miss it. I know that sounds crazy that you would miss getting punched in the face and that kind of thing, but you really do. You know, it's almost like a bad tooth where your tooth hurts and hurts and hurts, and you're used to it hurting, and then you get it pulled or whatever, and then it doesn't hurt anymore. And you just have this hole, and you feel weird. You don't know how to feel without that pain. And you find yourself putting your tongue inside that hole and rooting around and almost trying to make the pain come back because you kind of miss it. Same almost principle. I kind of missed teaching. I kind of missed combat. I hadn't had a good fight in a while, and I was jonesing for it really. So I said, okay, I'll definitely teach him. So I would go to his home and teach him self-defense. While I was there, I noticed a really heavy, really dark and just downright evil feeling whenever I was down there in the basement with him. Now at that time, I was involved in the paranormal. I wasn't doing Staring into the Abyss yet. I didn't have really radio shows yet. You know, I was a guest on radio shows, but I wasn't doing anything along those lines. I was just a writer. But I didn't want to step over the line and say something. But I was involved in the paranormal because I'd been hunting for a long, long time. You know, most of my life I've been going out on investigations and hunts and those kind of things. But I didn't want to cross over that line because he was my student. So I just kind of kept it to myself. I kept my eyes open and I watched and I felt what was around me and I saw what was going on. But nobody was in any immediate danger or anything. So I just kind of kept what I saw to myself because I didn't want to freak him out and have him decide he didn't want to do this anymore. Because then there I would be again, not teaching, not fighting. And I missed it. So fast forward a couple years. Staring into the Abyss is going. We are fairly successful with the radio show. And we have begun doing the Tales from the Abyss TV show. It was at this time that I received another message from Todd. But he sent me a message and he actually sent me a photograph in the message. The photograph was a picture of his house. It was actually a picture of one of the windows in his house, taken from the outside. And in the lower right-hand corner of this window was a really crazy-looking creature. Now, it looked spectral. It did not look flesh and blood. But it did not look like a ghost, like a normal apparition that you would see. The best way to describe this thing is, you guys remember the movie Critters? It kind of looked like that, but a spectral form. It was really quite an amazing and breathtaking photograph. When I did the episode of Tales from the Abyss, episode 3, I put that photograph in the video, so you can actually see it on the show. that photograph that I'm talking about. And he told me that he took that picture at his house, and if I saw anything in it, because he thought he did and he didn't like what he saw. And I said, yes, absolutely, I see something. So then we end up talking a little bit about it, and I agree that I will get my team together and we'll go down there and we'll check it out and see what's going on. So I contacted my buddy Andy, who is our demonologist on our East Coast team. And me and Andy went down to the house. The idea was that we were going to do the initial interview of him and the family and just do a little bit of preliminary investigation. That was the idea. We were going to just maybe do a little spirit box work, kind of walk around, see what we could see what we could feel. We were going to try to debunk the photograph. That was big on the list too. I wanted to see from the outside, and I wanted to see from the inside that window and that area where that photograph was taken. And I wanted to try to duplicate it. I wanted to take pictures from different angles and different distances to see if I could make that image appear again. If maybe it was just a trick of light, or maybe it was a reflection of a tree or something on the window. So that's what I tried to do. I could not replicate the photograph at all. Every single picture I took, the window was absolutely black. There was no reflection. There was no large trees near it that could have been putting off a reflection. And there was nothing, when I looked inside, there was nothing inside that looked like that at all, that could be mistaken for what I saw in that window in the photograph. But that was our initial plan. And then we were going to decide if it warranted bringing the full team in and bringing our exorcist in and all of that. Because when you get the exorcist involved, it's a process. Okay, you can't just call him up and say, hey, bro, we need you to come down here and kick a demon's ass for us. It's not how it works. He has to go through the church. He has to go through his bosses, so to speak, and get permission. Okay, so it's not just a, hey, show up on this day and we're going to do this thing. It's a process that has to happen. Part of that process is supplying him with the evidence that he needs to take to his bishop to say, look, this is what's going on. This definitely warrants our involvement, and then get permission to do it. So that was our goal that day, was we were to try to debunk if we could, see if anything was actually going on, get the story, and get some evidence for him. Do a little mini investigation, some spirit box work, that kind of thing. Try to figure out what was going on and get some evidence. That was our intention. So we went there and we did the initial interview. The family did not want to be on camera, so I had to do an audio interview with him and was able to present that on the show as well. So you get to hear the entire interview we did. It's just audio instead of video. The rest of the investigation is video. And then we decided we were going to do the spirit box work. Now, he had a friend of his that was his roommate, and this gentleman's name was Bob. And Bob died in that home not too long ago. And he died in a recliner in that home that was still there. So we decided that is where we would begin to focus our efforts to try to contact Bob and see if there was anything else in there we could get as well. Our hope was we could at least talk to Bob and find out if he knew if there was anything in the home that was attacking the family. Now, I say attacking the family because the other part of this story is that the little girl was being attacked. You see, Todd had a demonic attachment for years. It goes all the way back to when he was really young. And he had been carrying this thing his entire life. It's what caused the aggression. It's what caused the violence and the bad behavior and the drinking and all of it. It all stemmed from that. Well, that demonic attachment had kind of started working on the girl too. It had started making her act out and draw really, really eerie and frightening pictures of monsters that are cutting themselves and hurting themselves and killing people and stuff like that. It was really dark stuff. I put all those drawings on the show as well, so you can see all of the pictures that the little girl drew on the show as well. This entity actually started causing her to hurt herself. She began cutting and doing self-mutilation. She told Todd that this entity was actually telling her to kill her friends. And she eventually got to the point where she attempted suicide. So that's why I say she was being attacked. This family was being attacked. This was a situation that once we learned the full extent of it, we realized that we had to do something about it. Now, the plan was still to bring in the entire team to go through the process. So we thought that we would talk to Bob first. So we started doing the spirit box session in the living room, in that chair where Bob died. And sure enough, we got a hold of Bob and he even told us who he was. And we got to talk to him a little bit. Now, I asked Bob to help us. I asked him to help us find this demonic entity that was attacking his family so we could deal with it. During the process of this conversation with Bob, that entity showed up. And Bob got very frightened. That demonic entity actually made him shut up and stop talking to us and ran him off. And it took over on the conversation. And me and that thing went head to head. And we kind of got into it a little bit. I demanded to know why it was attacking the family. I wanted to know where the hell it was so I could go get it. I finally got out of this thing that it was up in the attic. So me and Andy went up to the attic. And we tried to confront it there. Andy was able to get a couple responses from it in the attic, but it only lasted like 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then that thing hightailed it again. So we went, looking for it around the house and trying to figure out what was going on. We ended up back in the living room where Andy did another session on the spirit box. And then when he did some K2 work and stuff like that and was getting it to come up. But it never lasted. It just kept taking off. So we decided what we would do before we left was we would go ahead and do a full house cleansing to try to protect his family some. Like I said before, Andy is an experienced investigator and he's also a demonologist. He has the ability to do a house blessing and cleanse the place. So that's what we did. We went room to room, praying in each room and blessing the room and sealing it up. We went into the little girl's room and did the process. And then we went into Todd's bedroom that he shares with his wife, and we cleansed that room. When we left the parents' bedroom and started to walk back towards the living room, as soon as we walked out that doorway, there was a very disturbing sound that was very loud to us. It was like in between a hiss and a screech. It was like a kind of sound. It was very alarming, and Andy actually turned immediately to me and said, "Did that cat just hiss at you?" Because that's what he thought it was. Their cat was in its cat cage right beside the door there, and I was standing right beside it. And it did not hiss at me. The cat did nothing. I was looking right at the cat. It was just sitting there being cool. It had no problem at all. The sound came from the little girl's room. So I told Andy, man, let's go back into her room. And it's in there. We can hear it. It's right there. Let's go get it. So Andy turned, man, and he just booked right back into that room, and I followed him. And we went and we did a prayer in there. And Andy did a really passionate prayer, and he sealed the room as he left. He did holy water all over the place. And then we packed up and told the family, the father and the mother, that we would be back if necessary to let us know over the next couple of days what was going on and how things went. and keep us updated on the situation, that we were going to begin the process of going through the church to get permission to actually do a full exorcism and get rid of that thing. For the next day or two afterwards, there was more activity than there had been. Now that's pretty standard when you go through and you do a house blessing and you seal the place like that. Because basically what happens is the entity will act up. Because that weakens it and drives it away, but it isn't an immediate thing. So what happens is you have these entities that will, for lack of a better way to describe it, they kind of get pissed off. And they kind of run their mouth and they just act up a little bit. But it usually only lasts anywhere from a couple hours to a day or two, and then it stops. And that's what happened here. It lasted a day or two, and then it calmed back down. Now, every update that I've gotten from Todd, and I've stayed in contact with him, is everything is going fine. It's been quiet. There's been no more activity. And the little girl is doing much better. So that's where things stand at this moment. The house blessing we did and the sealing of the home did the job for now. Things are quiet. Everybody's safe. Now that does not mean that that's the end of this story. Because when you're dealing with especially demonic entities, demons in general, they don't stay away forever. They come back sometimes. There's a lot you have to do even after an exorcism. There's a lot of things that you have to do to prevent that demon from coming back. And the funny thing about demons is when they come back stronger and with more of their friends. The Bible says that when you drive a demon out, if that person is not saved, that demon will come back stronger than before and bring 7 of its friends that are even stronger than it is. So what happens with these cases is if the person does not follow the steps necessary and do the things necessary after the exorcism has been performed, then that demon will come back. And the next time you have to go and face it, it'll be a lot stronger and a lot harder to get rid of than it was before. Now, we did not do an exorcism on this case yet. The house blessing and sealing was enough to drive this thing away for a while. I have no way to know how long it will be until it's back, or if it will ever come back. If it's a low-level, weak-ass demon, it might not come back, but it very well could. If that happens, then we will go back to that home, and we will escalate things, and we will take care of it again. As of right now, that is not necessary. The family is at peace. Everybody is safe. That is the important thing. So that is the behind the scenes of what happened there, and that is a story of episode 3. That's the case that episode was filmed on, where we went in to help this family because a demon was attacking a child and causing that child to hurt themselves. So that being said, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy to get his comments on the episode and any questions and stuff like that he might have.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for telling your story about what happened over there. The first thing I'm going to say is I enjoyed the episode. If you guys know, we did episode 1 at out there in Go Bar, episode 2 in Victorville, and this is the third one. And what I have seen from the video and stuff like that James, like he's dealt with this kind of stuff before, so I'm not surprised what happened with this demon. What people got to realize when you mess with, like he was saying, it went into the child or whatever, or the girl. Well, that happens. What happens is, and what people need to realize is, when demons get into you, or get into your, or stick, or whatever you want to say, stick on you, attached to you, sorry, not stick, attached, sorry guys, that they can go to a weaker person. And when you're younger, and like when you were talking about the pictures, she was writing out because that thing was, she was showing you what that thing was, it looked like, because it was talking to her. Because what happened is the demon figured it, I could not kill two birds with one stone, go for the daughter, because the daughter's younger, and, when you're younger, you think a lot of people don't believe this stuff, or they rebel. And what it did is it went for this girl because it was easier. So that's why you were getting those pictures and stuff like that of demonic figures, because she was writing out, she was kind of acting out, kind of, because there's always your subconscious is going to always tell people what's going on, even though you don't really want people to know, and that demon probably didn't want anybody to know what was going on. And, till you went there and did stuff with the group, that's what happens. And like I said, I'm glad there's nothing going on anymore with the guy, because you said you kept going on with this guy, and just because what people need to realize is, just because, like James said, you get rid of the demons, it can come back as soon as you open your mind again to something negative or something goes on. You can invite the demon back, and he'll bring 7 bigger and badder friends with him, or even more. There's no, and you're going to deal with a lot more problems than you did before if you survive, because it was driving this girl insane, and his friend, and there was a lot of anger and evil, because that's attaching to the person. And what could happen is you have to always keep yourself, like James says, with your mind open, and just keep going on with the grooves. Don't just give up. Oh yeah, it's gone, it's never coming back again. As soon as you think that, something else, it could come back. Just because you got rid of it doesn't mean somebody can bring it right back. And that's one thing people need to start realizing. It's like, you guys seen The Exorcist. Oh, we got rid of it. That's not true. The boy whatever the original story was with The Exorcist, it was a boy, for one, it wasn't a girl. And they got rid of the demon, whatever, but they don't go back to that house because it's still there. You can't get rid of a demon 100%. You can, like James says, they go away for a while, but somebody, like, say they move away, say that you get rid of the people eventually move, your friend, and somebody else moves in there, and say they have a lot of negativity. Well, that demon can come back to them. So that's one thing you got to watch out, and especially when you take people with you to these paranormal things, investigations. You got to watch, because you don't know what everybody 100% thinks. You don't know what their real true intentions are when they go to these things, or you don't know if what's going on in their head. You got to watch out if this thing didn't jump into somebody in your group. See, that's one thing I was going to tell you. You need to watch out on some of these things when you go and do these investigations. Yeah, the demon can move into one of your team members if all the demon needs is subconsciously you need to think something negative or invite it in some weird way. It can latch on to you. You can carry this back to you guys, houses and your family, and it can attach to your kids, your somebody who just is a very negative person. And if you take and be honest with me and James, some of the groups we've done, we've ran into some negative people, and they can get attached by these demons. Say, well, you know what? I see something even better. It's like being on a steak dinner, and then you see lobster. That's a lot better. That's an upgrade. So you're going to jump to the lobster, and then you see the lobster. Then you see like $1,000 steak. You're going to jump at it. So that's what happens. See, that's what I was going to tell people too. When you guys go on these investigations like we do, don't try to copy everything we do. And you remember, we've done this for a long time. James has done this a long time. Andy's done this a long time. And, he knows how to do the blessings. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to let people get attached. But even as good as you are, you could still have somebody you don't know what really people are thinking. You have some people that have bad intentions. There's some people who have, maybe they were fighting with their girlfriends or their family, or something bad happened in their life, or the job. If they're thinking negative, the demon can come into you. And that's what people got to realize. You got to have a clear mind when you go in here, because it could trick you and it could cling on you. And even if it doesn't get into you, what it will do is it will follow you and get into somebody that in your family, like your kids, because kids are the easiest things they can get into. And that's what people need to realize. It's like a lesson I'm going to tell you guys. And say you have a family, say like you're that you live with like a couple of roommates, and one of your roommates is a dark person, like into dark stuff, and like really like already on the edge. It can go get that person to go over that edge. So you got to watch what people you're taking around, and really investigate who you got with you. And you got to make sure they get, when you're doing this stuff, to get the blessing, or sage, or do something. Make sure you don't bring this stuff home, because if you bring this stuff home, it doesn't have to necessarily attach to you. See, what people's realize is what people, like James says, Christians are protected by God. You're right. But a demon can go get your best friend who's not, to do some harm to you. And that's how there's the loophole on that. And that's why I try to tell people, be careful what you ask for, or you mess with, because like I said, these things, James went to go do this investigation, and they got rid of this thing, but hopefully the guy sticks to what James says and does what he's supposed to, and keeps in touch with James, because if he falls back down, James and there did all this in vain, and they'll have to go back and do this again, and then they'll have more demons to deal with. And like he was saying, that one guy, Bob, came, that ghost, and all of a sudden the demon came. Yeah, that's because that's what, I mean, if you ever seen The Conjuring, I think it was number 2, that happened. There was like a ghost in there, but then the ghost, the demon uses the ghost to go after the people. It can do that. So the ghost is really like bait. And I believe that. I think demons can use ghost as bait. Like you think, and this is a new theory I have, and this is something that's probably going to trip your mind out, James, because I just thought about it. What if ghosts and spirits are used to sucker people in so a demon can get to them? That means they could get somebody that you were love and use them against you, because either that or they're going to get tortured. And this is a new theory. I just thought about this. What if they use demons and spirits to get what they want? They use them, and then what really is going on is they're just waiting to get you, like you were saying. Then when you start finding out what's going on, they scare them away and they come out. What if this is like a decoy? It's a new thing that I just thought, and this is crazy, I just thought about this right now while I was thinking. What if they use these regular spirits and stuff to bait people in so they can get their next victim? Like, you know how people do go and do ghost hunts and ghost investigations. Well, there's 5 people. 4 of the 5 people are in their right mind. They're not having problems. One person does. Of course, there you go. Oh, there's spirits everywhere. They're talking. All of a sudden, the demon latches onto you, and you don't even know about it till you go home and it's too late. I'm just saying that was a theory. I don't know what that's all I'm going to say. I really enjoyed the episode. It was really great. I hope you guys enjoy it. But there you go. What do you think about that theory I just came up with, James?
It makes perfect sense, and there is evidence to support it. We have been on investigations before where we have talked to spirits who claim to be tortured by demons. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. See, people do not understand what demons actually are. They don't understand what the reality of that situation is, because they're polluted with all this BS about demons. Almost 100%, 99.9999999% of all the shows you see on TV and all the movies that are made about demons are complete garbage. The majority of these things are complete fakes. And I'm just going to say that flat out. They make it look as if going up against demons is some glamorous, cool thing. It's the new popular thing. But I'm going to tell you what the truth is about demons. Demons are nothing to be messed with. They are by far the most dangerous and destructive things that you will ever face on an investigation. And they are absolutely impossible to permanently get rid of. Now, somebody can get an exorcism done, and they can follow very strictly exactly what they're supposed to do. And if they're very lucky and they really work at it, they can go the rest of their life without a problem. But that demon is not gone. It's not dead. You can't kill these things. All you've done is move it away from that person. And it can simply just grab somebody else. Another thing I want to say about demons that most people don't understand, actual possession is extremely rare. This whole idea that people have, that you hear about on all these shows of demons possessing people every other day, is fantasy. It's not real. It almost never actually happens. What does happen a great deal are attachments. That's where a demon has latched onto you and is working in your life to cause chaos. It will cause you to become angry and violent and abusive. It will cause problems with alcohol and drugs. It will cause illnesses and mental problems in you and your family. It'll break up marriages. It'll cause all kinds of very bad things like that. That's how demons operate. The whole, your face looks like an alligator, your head's spinning around, you're projectile vomiting pea soup across the room, doesn't really happen. You might have a rare case every once in a while with a very high-level, powerful demon that causes some very scary stuff to happen like that, but not to that extent. You'll have a change in the voice. You'll have the thing speaking in tongues and saying things that it should have no knowledge of, that kind of stuff. But the whole levitating 3 feet above the bed, you know, it just doesn't happen. Possession is a very rare thing. Old Boy also touched on what I call piggybacking. That's when a demon will be attached to somebody, and it will also attach to other people that they are familiar with, that they're in their family, their friends, that kind of thing. That happens quite a bit as well. So when you bring this home, you are not only hurting yourself and ruining your own life, but you are putting at risk the people that you love and care about. Now, Old Boy also said that a Christian is protected. To a point, yes, we are. If you are a Christian, you are saved. That means that you have accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior, and you have the Holy Spirit residing inside of you. If that is the case, then you cannot be possessed. Because a demon cannot inhabit the space where the Holy Spirit resides. It just can't. But that does not mean that you're safe. I want to make that crystal clear for everybody. I am a man of God. I am protected from possession because I have the Holy Spirit inside of me. I am not protected from attachments. I am not protected from demons trying to hurt me. I am not protected from a demon causing another human being to try to kill me or physically assault me in any way. The fact that I'm a Christian doesn't change that. And I want to make that clear again because you really need to understand. Demons are nothing to be played with. They are extremely dangerous. I don't care what you saw on TV. Okay, I don't care what so-and-so on this particular show or that particular show says or pretends to do on camera. Okay? In real life, these things are dangerous. They can and will destroy you. Not just hurt you. Not just kill you. Although they can do both. They will destroy you. Utterly and completely destroy you and your entire life. They will destroy your job. They will destroy your finances. They will destroy your family, your children. They will destroy everything you love. That's what they do. They are evil, lying, things that I can't say on the radio. I want to say a word that I'm not allowed to say. They are pieces of crap. And they absolutely hate us with a passion. The idea of you're going to have a demon that's your friend is nonsense. They hate you because they don't believe that we are worthy of the status that we have in God's eyes. See, remember, God wanted everything in creation about us. We are made in God's image. That offends demons. That pisses them off. They don't view us as better than they are. In every way that's measurable, they're actually right about that. Physically, we are no match for a demon or most of these supernatural creatures. They could kick our ass pretty easily. We do not have any of the powers that they have. They are stronger than us in every single way. The only thing that gives us the ability to fight these things and to win is not any kind of power that we possess. I do not have any special powers that allow me to fight demons. Neither does Andy. Neither does our exorcist. What gives us the ability to get rid of these things and to do combat with these things is God. It is God's power that drives these things out, not ours. It is the name of Jesus that they must bow to, not my name. On my own power, I'll be destroyed in a second. The same with any of us. They are so much stronger than we are. What gives us the ability to help these people and to do what we do is the power of Almighty God. That's what they fear. So I really want you to understand that if you think you're going to go out there on an investigation and you're going to attempt to take on a demon, you better make sure you know what the hell you're doing. And you better make sure you're right with the Almighty. And that you're acting in His will. Because if you're out there on your own will, you're pretty much toast. And that's just the bottom line. We do what we do because we're called to do it. We do what we do because, as I've said many times on this show, there are things that go bump in the night. There are evil creatures that exist. There are supernatural entities that do absolutely exist. And they are actively trying to hurt people. That's why we do what we do, because we are called to help people. We are called to take these things on and, if possible, kill them. Get rid of them so they can't ever hurt anybody again. You got to be really careful with what you're doing. So this is a 100%, please do not try this at home moment. Because as good as we are at what we do and as much experience as we have, the truth of the matter, the bottom line here, is it's only going to end one way. Nobody, and I don't care who the hell you are, nobody goes up against these kind of things and comes away clean. Never. It ends one way, and that's bloody. If you do this long enough, eventually, you're going to end up bloody. That's how it's going to work. A lot of the things that they tell you is cool to do, like Ouija boards and spells and stuff like that, those are doorways. Those open up doorways that invite these things into your life. There's so many people out there that believe that it's awesome and fun and cool to play with the Ouija board. They don't realize what they're doing. They're opening up a doorway and they are allowing evil things into their lives. Anybody that's around this stuff long enough, you can see it. It begins to happen. They start having tremendously bad luck. Their tire blows out. The car breaks down. They lose their job. They get sick. They get ill. And they die. It repeats over and over again. I've seen it so many times. When you open up doorways that you do not understand how to close, you are inviting evil things into your life and into your family. You are putting the people you love at risk. And if you do not have the knowledge and the skill set to handle these things, don't mess with them. Because even for the people that do have that knowledge and do have that skill set, we're all going to end the same way. It's not going to be pretty. Because one of these days, we're not going to win. It's inevitable. Sooner or later, we will lose. Sooner or later, we will be destroyed. I just hope that we last long enough and that we help enough people and get rid of enough of these damn evil things before we go. So that's about all the time I have. Please go check out the episode 3 on YouTube. It's Tales from the Abyss episode 3 on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. And I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy for his final words and his shout-outs.
Thank you, brother, and that was great words. Yeah, I want to thank everybody on Parax. We're almost damn near at 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. Subscribe on James Hershey's page, not the singer, the writer. I want to thank you guys all. I love you guys. You guys want to get our merchandise, you know where to go. They'll tell you. Have a great night. Demon hunters, monster lovers, misfits, and sugar ladies. But everybody have a great night. Blessed be, and watch what you're doing. Just that's all I could tell you. Have a good night, guys.
The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where you'll find every episode of Staring Into the Abyss radio show. You will find other videos that we have done, little video shorts on investigations, different short videos on different paranormal subjects. And that's also where you can find every episode of our TV show as they air. That we put them there on the YouTube channel for you also. So please go there and subscribe to the channel and enjoy the videos. It's 100% free, so enjoy it. That's why I do all that work to put it up there for you. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting the radio show. And thank you for supporting the new TV show. I really appreciate that. I hope that you guys enjoy what we do, and I hope that you honestly take our words to heart. We're telling you these things because we actually do this. Okay, we don't just get on the show and talk about things that we read in a book somewhere. We actually have real world experience with some of these things. Not all of them. Some of it is strictly research. But some of these things we've actually went out and looked for and hunted before. So I can tell you a lot of these things do actually exist and they are dangerous. And it's not anything to just go out and play with. And unfortunately nowadays it happens way too often. And I don't want to see anybody get hurt because you don't understand what you're messing with. So with that being said, thank you once again. I love you guys so much, and I appreciate everything you say and everything you do for us. You are greatly appreciated. Just know that. So until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.